Hey, what's going on there, folks? This is Charles Ellison coming to you with a brand new tutorial, brand new live stream. We're going to be working through a tutorial that will be posted later on the civil3d.tv website. I just wanted to direct your attention to the site itself. If you go to civil3d.tv and click on the Start Free Trial, if you click on that and you click if you click on the free 3-day trial, you get access to all of my edited content, all of my edited, concise categories of content here. Sorry if I'm blowing into my mic a little bit here. You have access to the exercise files here as well. But the reason why I'm directing your attention to this is that currently there is roughly about 10 hours worth of content within this subscription-based content. So 10 hours worth. There are other ways of being able to get Civil 3D training. You can actually enroll in a course. There are lots of places to where you can go in person. You can sit down in a class and you can spend about 4 days learning the Civil 3D program, learning all of this information. And most of the time, these classes, they typically run anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. I'm not sure if a lot of these classes run a full 8 hours, but usually whenever you're involved in a class, you probably don't want to stay in the class for more than 8 hours. And not only that, even probably at the 6-hour point, your brain is getting fried from all of the processing that you're having to do with the program itself. Plus, you're likely going to have questions for the instructor. The instructor, what's great about live in-person training is that if you have specific questions about the program itself, about Civil 3D, they're able to answer that for you just like that. However, when you leave, then a lot of these places, they have like their online content, that you can refer back to. However, with this content right here, you can come back to it at any time. Not only that, if you were to become a subscriber, a monthly subscription is $29.99 a month, or you can get the annual subscription. You're not spending thousands on basically a week's worth of training. So for a lot of people, that works out for them. Just doing a monthly membership, $30 a month. They get you get access to 10 hours worth of content. So it's very beneficial for folks. However, if you really wanted to do a shortcut, if you're really determined to learn this content and you're really on a budget, what I would suggest is if you can handle 3 days of just pounding this content right here, you could probably get through all 10 hours worth within 3 days. I've seen it done. I've seen somebody do that and it was just like, wow, that's pretty incredible. Good for you. If you can sit down and you can memorize and go through and cram 10 hours worth of video content within 3 days, good on you. Go for it. I mean, you have access to a free trial, 10 hours worth of content, 3 days. If you're very, very determined, you can do it. It's possible. I've seen it. So that's what I would recommend. This content, again, gets straight to the point. It's not like these live streams that I'm doing right now. We're getting ready to do roughly a half-hour live stream where I'm working through my content and I'm going to be making mistakes along the way. I'm going to be extremely slow in this video, in this live stream. So that's what you have to take into account when you're watching these live streams. A lot of these live streams are for beginners. These live streams are for people that need somebody to go through slowly in order to learn the information. There's a lot of other great instructors on YouTube that are highly qualified in teaching Civil 3D. However, they tend to teach the more advanced folks. But you know, if Civil 3D is a little bit intimidating for you, I'm your guy. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. You know, if you just wanted to knock out, you know, the 3-day trial, 10 hours worth of content, what does that work out to? 10 hours worth of content. So go 10 divided by 3 days, which means it's about 3 days, or I'm sorry, 3 hours each day. You can definitely get through that. Absolutely. That's right, isn't it? 3 times 3 equals 10. Yeah. You can get through all my content in 3 days with that free trial if you wanted to. If you were very, very determined, go for it. So I'll leave you with that. We'll return to that later on in the stream. But today, we're going to be getting into creating and editing a corridor in the intersection area. So in this exercise, you'll create a corridor using existing vertical and horizontal geometry. You'll modify the corridor in the intersection area and then experiment with the corridor region recreation tools. So let's go ahead and create a corridor in the intersection area. If you have the exercise files, you can go into intersection-edit-corridor drawing, which is located in your tutorials folder. Now this drawing contains an intersection of a primary road, which is this right here. This is our primary road. Primary road A. Okay. And we could probably also look to see if we click on this. Here we go. If you click on this blue icon right here, or I'm sorry, cyan or whatever, you can look within the properties. You'll see road A, and you can see primary alignment. It's listed right here. So that's how we know that's the primary road. The secondary is road B, which is right here. Okay. Now there are currently no corridors or corridor assemblies in the drawing right now. So again, we'll select our intersection marker and then click on the intersection tab, which is contextual right here. Go to the modify panel, which is right here. And then we'll click on recreate corridor regions. Click on this. Okay. Now the intersection corridor regions dialog box is displayed. Hey, what's up there, Sammy? How you doing, brother? Great live stream tonight, man. And nobody keeps up with the live streams like you do, man. Every single day you're streaming. You're streaming live, brother. Good for you. I'm sure that you don't feel like live streaming every single night, but we appreciate it. The Inspirational Nomad, if you don't know about him, his name's Sammy. He has a live stream where he shows up every night. He shows up for probably about, half hour to an hour, and yeah, I mean he's very, very determined to be a success on YouTube. So I appreciate you there, Sam. Sam says, click on the thumbs up, show some love to Charles. Thank you, brother. Alrighty. Appreciate you, Sam. Okay, we've got our intersection corridor regions dialog box. Sam says, thank you, brother. You're doing great also. You know, when you're fueling my fire, brother, I mean, that's definitely, I mean, you're definitely putting some logs on the fire. You know, Sam is very, very quick-witted. He's very quick with his mind on these live streams, and with streaming live, you have to have that kind of personality. You know, you don't want to be sitting around with dead air, you know, all night long. So Sam says, what are you drawing? Well, right here, this is an aspect of CAD, of Civil 3D, called intersections, where Civil 3D or CAD will automatically create intersections, and certain the crown of the road needs to be handled in certain ways in order to be engineered correctly. So that's basically what we're doing right here in this stream right now. Intersections, a lot of people are afraid to touch them. You know, even in my office, it's somewhat of a brand new tool in Civil 3D, and there's a lot involved with you know, you can see all the different options that you can select in this dialog box. Just this in and of itself, you know, it can be overwhelming for people. So people tend not to use it. But in this live stream, even for myself, I don't use it a whole heck of a lot, which is why I'm kind of brushing up on my skills when it comes to dealing with this. So we're going through this. We're going through the notes right now. Okay. Under select surface to daylight, right here, select surface to daylight. What we're going to do is we're going to click this drop down, and we're going to daylight to the existing ground. Okay. Sam says, where did you get this idea? Do you do drawings for roadways on your main job? I do. Actually, these corridors, or these intersections and what they call corridors, you use that to design roads within residential subdivisions, which is what I do every day. I'm a designer in a civil engineering firm that we do residential work, and right now I'm designing a subdivision that's about 300 acres. It's huge. What's the number one thing you draw at your main job? I do a lot of conceptual work. Actually, that's a good question there, Sam. The conceptual plans that I typically do at my job, they don't necessarily require all of the tools that I'm using in Civil 3D. A lot of it is just straight up AutoCAD, but you have to be quick at it. When it's a brand new job and developers are looking at a piece of property, they may or may not go with that property. So civil engineers, as a civil engineer, I have to be able to create a concept plan very, very quickly, but for budget's sake. You know, if I'm spending tons and tons of time on a concept that may not come to fruition, then it's all useless time, you know. But the reason why I get these concept plans is because I'm fast. I'm fast at what I do, and I can knock these concepts out really quickly. Plus, I give them a quality product to where a developer is able to see, oh, this is the site criteria, and this is, a lot layout for a subdivision. This is how, the roads can be laid out, and this is how many lots I can get for this subdivision. Yeah, it's advantageous for us to continue with the development of the property. However, if it's not a good piece of property, if there's wetlands all over the place, there's all kinds of obstructions, then that concept plan is going to reveal that to them. And it's my job to be able to give them answers really quickly. Sam says a lot of subdivisions are being built. Business must be good for your line of work. It's very good. That's why if you can learn Civil 3D, right now people are hiring like crazy. Especially if you know this program, you can do very, very well for yourself, especially here in Florida. Great question, Sam. I appreciate it. Sam says they probably use your drawings at the county hearings for zoning and permits. They do, which is why they have to be pretty. They have to be laid out in such a way that that the city is looking at them and they're like, yeah, this is a go. This subdivision is a go. We want to have this in our neighborhood. We feel that this is an asset to our community. However, if you're designing crappy looking layouts, if you have crappy designs, then the developer, he's not going to be too thrilled with it because he's not getting the lot yield that they had hoped for. And even if they do go through with it, the city will be like, yeah, we don't want this ugly subdivision in our area. We don't want this project in our area. We want to keep things nice and natural. We want nature, we want trees, we want open space, that sort of thing. And that's another thing that I have to design around. I have to be able to design around natural features such as wetlands and existing trees and things like that, water. I have to keep a certain distance away from other homes and from office buildings and things of that nature. So, yeah, I mean, you have to have. There are a lot of variables involved when you're designing a sub. Sam says, do you need to estimate traffic congestion and population for the size and amount of roadways? Yes, we do. Yeah, that's one of the things. I don't know if you've ever seen those lines that get placed across the street that track the estimated traffic. It's a traffic study. There's that study. Then there's also an environmental study. Does the site perk? There's a certain percolation rate. With a piece of property, you have to make sure that water is going to drain. Where are you going to put your water? Do you have enough space for a pond? Do you have enough space for parks? You can't just flood in just a bunch of buildings and a bunch of lots into a property and expect the city to approve it. The city we want to see where the water is going to go, and we want to have some nature and some open space and some parks and some trails and things like that. So there's a ratio that you have to keep when it comes to those different variables, and sometimes that's hard to achieve, especially when a developer is looking to cash in on a piece of property. Great questions, Sam. Great questions. But one of the things that we have to make sure of when we're designing a subdivision, when we're designing roads, the crown elevation has to match. This right here, right at this intersection, the crown has to match. Okay, and right now, Sam says, what area in the country has been the most challenging to build and engineer? I have never, just speaking from personal experience, I have never really had to deal with building on mountains, building around mountains. Out west, they probably have to deal with that kind of elevation, dealing with, or maybe in Oregon. I'm sure they have lots of large natural features that people have to work around. I think that's definitely challenging. Being able to engineer a site when you don't have the perk rate, when you're dealing with water that doesn't drain, or if you don't have the space for a detention or retention pond. A detention pond is a pond that holds the water, but eventually the water can go out, can be piped out to a city's maybe sewer system or drainage system. But a retention pond keeps the water within the pond. It looks to keep the water within the pond. So there's that aspect too with ponds. As far as where you're going to put the water, you also have an option to where maybe you don't have the space for just a above ground pond. Maybe you go with underground detention, to where you have all of your water underground and all of these pipes. Usually that takes place within a commercial property underneath some parking. You have parking, and then right underneath you're working with like a postage stamp piece of property. You need to be able to hold water on site. So most of the time they elect to go with underground detention systems. Sam says, does your firm only do work in Florida? No, we tend to do work in other states as well. You also have to, when you're doing other work in other states, you also have to be licensed. You also have to be, if you're a professional civil engineer within Florida, they give you a seal, but you also have to have a seal or a registration number, I believe, in other states as well. So, you have to be able to meet that challenge. A lot of work that we tend to do tends to be, I think, kind of like out west. Out west we do a lot of commercial work. But here in Florida, residential, it's popping. Residential work is definitely popping. So the other thing that you deal with too is that with residential work, you're dealing with larger budgets. When you're dealing with commercial work, a lot of times you're dealing with maybe small pharmacies, you're dealing with gas stations, smaller pieces of property to where the budgets are a lot tighter. And I can remember working for a civil engineer where I was pushed to get faster and faster with my output, which is why I think that being pushed at that level helped me, especially during the recession. A lot of people were being pushed because of we didn't necessarily have the staff that we had before in the past. So it kept me moving fast, kept my fingers moving really fast and keeping the budgets tight. But I don't really want to live that way now. I enjoy working on residential work, and especially doing work here in Florida has been very, very helpful. Okay, under an assembly set, what we're going to do is we're going to click Browse. Then we're going to navigate to the Assemblies folder. Then click on Metric. Then we're going to click on metric assembly sets, which is right here, and click open. After that, we're going to click recreate. And there we go. We have our little intersection right here. Okay, we've got a corridor is displayed in the intersection area. Okay, note that if the corridor is not displayed in the intersection area, you may need to rebuild the corridor. In Tool Space on the Prospector tab, expand the corridors collection, right-click on corridor, and then click Rebuild. So I'll show you where that's at. Tool Space, Prospector tab, expand the corridors, which is right here. We've got corridor number 1. Actually, let's go ahead and select it. So we've got this right here. Click or right-click on corridor and select Rebuild. Okay. What does Sam say? Sam's got some great questions. He's coming with great questions tonight. What is the average spacing of a sewer drain in a standard residential development? That's a good question. I don't necessarily have the answer to that just off the top of my head. A lot of that a lot of those variables tend to go to a design engineer. That's a great question, though. That's something I should probably look up. I'm not, I don't tend to deal with a whole lot of sewer drains and things like that. Most of the time, an engineer is typically laying that out. But I tend to put in some kind of like preliminary drain work, some preliminary sewers. And then the engineer will point and say, no, we need to put drains over here. We need to space it this far apart. But however, you have to have enough drains. You have to have enough sewers in order to drain a site properly. And a lot of times an engineer tends to handle that aspect. Plus, they also handle the sizing of the pipes and things like that too. Actually, if we really want to get into it, Sam, if you go to the county website, Pasco, like Pasco County, they actually have a LAN Development Code. And in this code, then you can look up those types of questions. Because sometimes counties are different in the way that they handle storm sewers. So that's another aspect. A lot of research goes into designing property. Okay. All right, now modify the corridor properties. In the tool space, under the Prospector tab, expand the corridors and intersection collections. Expand intersections. Okay, we've got all of this stuff going on. It's a lot of stuff baked into it. If either of the objects in these collections is, if any of these objects have kind of like a shield, a yellow shield looking thing next to it, that means that the object is out of date and you need to essentially rebuild it. Or there might even be an update option. Yeah, if it's out of date, right-click on the object and select Rebuild. Select the corridor that's in the intersection area. Okay. select this. Okay, we're going to select the grip at the bottom of the intersection, which is right here. We're going to drag the grip down further south. Maybe about right here. We'll try that. Maybe not that far. Maybe about right. There we go. Now we can see all of it. The further I stretched it, the more, yeah, my corridor disappeared there. Corridor tab. Okay. We'll click our corridor again. Under the Modify Corridor panel, click the Corridor Properties drop-down and click Corridor Properties. Okay, we get our Corridor Properties dialog box here. In the Corridor Properties dialog box, on the Parameters tab, which is right here, this is what I'm talking about. All of these different shields right here. That means that our stuff is out of date. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to click this, select region from drawing. And the drawing, we're going to click the bottom of the corridor, which is right here. Now the specified region is highlighted. You can see by this blue highlight right here. Okay, in the highlighted row, which is right here, we're going to select the frequency column. See this frequency? We're going to click this button right here. Okay, we get our frequency to apply assemblies dialog box. We're going to specify the following parameters. Long tangents, we're going to change that to 10. And we're going to leave this at an increment. Curve increment, we're going to change this to 5. Along spirals, we're going to change that to 5. And then along profile curves, let's open this up a little bit more. We'll go ahead and make this 5 as well. We'll see what happens. Then we're going to click OK twice. 1, 2. Okay, then we get our notification that the corridor definition has been modified and needs to be rebuilt, what do you want to do? We can rebuild the corridor or mark the corridor as out of date. We're going to always perform this choice. I'm going to click this checkbox so we don't have to do this again. I want to rebuild the corridor. Okay, the corridor is rebuilt. The corridor extends further to the south. In the extend region, the assemblies are further apart than the intersection regions, as we can see right here. Okay, now we're going to recreate the corridor regions. We're going to press escape, select this intersection marker again. Then within the intersection tab, in our little ribbon right here, let's go to the modify panel, right here again. And then click recreate corridor regions. Click that again. We get our dialog box here again. Now we're going to select the surface to daylight. It's going to be again at the existing ground. Then under select surface to in the intersection corridor regions dialog box, under apply at assembly set, click browse. We'll click that. Go ahead and go into your assemblies folder. Go ahead and click metric. And then metric assembly sets. Click open. Now this is the assembly set that you use to create the corridor. However, the intersection corridor regions dialog box enables you to specify another assembly set or individual assemblies with which you can create the corridor. So I'm going to go ahead and click this recreate button. Okay, the corridor is recreated. Notice that the modifications that you made to the road A baseline, including the assembly frequencies and region start station, returned to their original settings. This happened because the corridor was recreated using the parameters that were originally specified during the intersection creation process. Modifications that are made to the corridor in the intersection area are not retained when you recreate the corridor from the intersection object. Now note that the corridor regions that are outside the intersection extents are not affected by the recreate corridor regions command. So a lot of this, the intersection stuff, it can be a little bit confusing. You know, even for me, I look at it, and because I don't use it regularly, sometimes intersections can kind of put some weight within your drawings. So that's why we tend, with our firm, we tend to avoid intersections. But there's probably a workaround. There's probably people out there that know of a good way to work around the heaviness of an intersection. But yeah, that's essentially it, guys. So yeah, we're going to end it tonight. And again, I want to bring your attention to Civil 3D training. I'm sorry, civil3d.tv. You come here, there's all kinds of free live stream tutorials here. But if you want to get some concise, to the point content, click on Start Free Trial, and then you get 3 days to try out this content. Or, like I said, some people have been able to knock out all 10 hours. Right now, we're at about 10 hours worth of content right now, but I'm constantly adding more and more stuff, so that's looking to grow. But it's 10 hours worth of content. You know, you could probably knock 3 hours if you're on this for 3 hours a night for 3 nights, a little over 3 hours a night. You can get through all this content if you wanted to. 3 days for free. Or you can go the route of doing a 4-day live training classroom situation, and those classes are usually in the thousands. So free training here for free, or you can become a subscriber for $30 a month. But it gives you some options, gives you some things to think about. If you're a determined person, this is a great situation for you. So take care, guys. I hope you learned something. I refreshed my memory on some of this intersection stuff here tonight, but I hope this stuff helped you. All of this stuff is a learning process for all of us, and take care, guys. Peace.